Picture this. In a documented incident at a massive manufacturing plant, the fire alarms blare and a heavy-duty steel fire pump roars to life. I mean, this thing is the beating heart of their fire protection system, right? It's designed to push thousands of gallons of water every single minute. But instead of delivering that life-saving water, it suddenly sounds like a freight train is derailing right inside the casing. Within minutes, the pump completely tears itself apart from the inside out. The fire spreads. The result is a devastating total loss. But here's the crazy part. What happened? It wasn't the fire that destroyed the pump. It was actually the water.
That verified failure brings us to a fascinating and, honestly, kind of terrifying question for this explainer. What on earth can destroy a massive steel fire pump from the inside out in just a matter of minutes? Well, we're looking at a phenomenon where an invisible force literally turns the water you are trying to pump into a highly destructive weapon. It's a real engineering nightmare. It's taken down critical infrastructure all over the globe, causing massive insurance losses and catastrophic system failures. By the end of this, I promise you're going to be thinking, wow, I had literally no idea something this microscopic could destroy an entire fire pump.
According to the official documentation in NFPA 20, specifically Annex B, which tracks pump troubles, the symptoms of this catastrophic failure are just visceral. If you are ever standing in a pump room when this happens during an emergency, you won't just see a sudden total drop in water discharge on the gauges, you'll physically feel violent vibrations shaking the concrete floor under your feet. And the noise? Oh man, engineers universally describe it as sounding like someone poured a bucket of gravel straight into a blender. That horrific grinding sound, that is literally the sound of heavy-duty steel being eaten alive from the inside. Section 1. Anatomy of cavitation. Let's go ahead and uncover the identity of our invisible saboteur. Now, this is a phenomenon that every homeowner, contractor, and engineer really needs to understand, because the physics are exactly the same whether it's a giant industrial system or just the pump pushing water through your neighborhood. The mind-bending physics at play here all point back to our villain, cavitation. In simple conversational terms, cavitation is the formation and rapid, violent collapse of vapor bubbles in a flowing liquid. But here is the wildest part of the whole thing. This has absolutely nothing to do with heat. None. If you drop the pressure of water low enough, it'll actually boil and turn into vapor right at room temperature. When a pump is starving for water, it creates this extreme pressure drop in the suction pipe, literally pulling the water apart into boiling vapor bubbles. Let's break down the exact life cycle of this destruction. Step 1. The pump pulls harder than the water supply can actually deliver, which creates a severe pressure drop in the suction pipe. Step 2, the water vaporizes into these microscopic bubbles. Step 3, those little vapor bubbles get sucked straight into the high-pressure zone of the pump's spinning impeller. And Step 4, well, Step 4 is where the disaster happens. Because they are suddenly forced into a high-pressure environment, those bubbles violently implode. They collapse with such intense, localized force, honestly, it's like millions of microscopic bombs going off, that they blast away solid chunks of the metal impeller. Millions of these implosions happening every single second literally erode the heavy-duty steel right away. Section 2. Starving the fire pump. Let's look at why this actually happens. Okay, so we know the microscopic bubbles are the weapon, right? But what actually pulls the trigger? Well, it all comes down to starving the pump. Think of it like trying to run a marathon while breathing through a crushed plastic straw. You know, your lungs are pulling as hard as they can, but the air just can't get there fast enough. And the harder you pull, the more the straw collapses. A fire pump does the exact same thing when it's starved. And here are the common engineering missteps that essentially crush the straw. Even a tiny air leak in the piping can introduce trapped air pockets that choke the flow. Or maybe you've got clogged suction strainers, debris literally blocking the water from getting in. Sometimes it's just excessive friction loss because the suction pipes were incorrectly sized. They're just too small. Or worst case, you might have whirlpools or vortices drawing air straight from the surface of a tank down into the intake. Every single one of these issues starves the pump. Section 3. The Shield. NFPA 20 Section Rules. This is exactly why the National Fire Protection Association wrote NFPA 20. I know it's easy to look at engineering codebooks as just, a dry list of regulations. But in reality, these suction rules act as the ultimate engineered blueprint designed specifically to neutralize cavitation. Every single rule exists to ensure the pump never has to fight for its water. And the absolute most crucial point is this specific number right here, 0 psi or 0 bar. NFPA 20 mandates a strict, unbreakable threshold. When a fire pump is operating at its absolute maximum required flow, which the standard defines as 150% of its rated capacity, the gauge pressure right at the pump's suction flange must never drop below 0 psi. It must always stay at a positive pressure. The very second it drops into negative pressure, you are in the danger zone. The water begins to boil, and our invisible saboteur is unleashed. Let's visualize that difference. Imagine a perfectly functioning, healthy system. It has a positive head supply, meaning water is naturally and smoothly pushing its way into the pump. The gauge reads above 0 psi. The pump is happy, it's humming along, and it's fully ready for an emergency. Now compare that to a starving pump. Here we have negative pressure, massive turbulence, trapped air pockets restricting the flow, and of course, those destructive cavitation bubbles forming. The difference between life and death for a building's entire fire protection system often comes down to which of these two scenarios your pump is experiencing. So, to guarantee a healthy system, NFPA 20 requires some brilliant, highly specific countermeasures. For example, check valves and backflow preventers must be installed at least 10 pipe diameters away from the suction flange. Why? Well, because valves create messy turbulence, and giving it that distance gives the water time to calm down and flow smoothly before it hits the spinning impeller. Another really amazing trick. If you ever need to reduce the pipe size, you absolutely must use an eccentric tapered reducer. And it has to be installed with the flat side on top. This ensures there is absolutely no high spot in the pipe where a rogue air pocket can hide. And speaking of brilliant countermeasures, one of my absolute favorite, yet beautifully simple engineering solutions found right in the NFPA 20 Annex is the anti-vortex plate assembly. Think about it. If a fire pump pulls water from a large suction tank, it can easily create a massive whirlpool, just like when you pull the plug to drain a bathtub. That whirlpool can suck a literal tornado of air straight down into the pump. But this simple, required flat piece of metal, placed directly over the pipe inlet inside the tank, physically breaks up the water flow. It stops the whirlpool from ever forming in the first place. Simple, but a total game changer. Section 4. Diagnosing the damage. Finding the saboteur. So now that we know how the standard prevents cavitation, how do engineers actually map those terrifying, violent symptoms we talked about earlier back to our invisible saboteur after the damage is already done? Well, they do it by checking the official troubleshooting matrix from NFPA 20's Annex B. When you look at the columns for noise or vibration and no water discharge, they map directly down to specific rows. Engineers use this matrix to trace symptoms straight back to root causes, things like an obstructed impeller, an air leak, or suction issues. The standard literally tells technicians exactly where to look when a pump sounds like a gravel blender. And spoiler alert, it almost universally points back to a flaw in the suction piping that is starving the pump. All of this investigation brings us to one of the absolute most vital safety lessons buried in the NFPA 20 standard. It states, the adequacy and reliability of the water supply are critical to the successful operation of the fire pump and fire protection system. It's a simple sentence, right? But it has massive, real-world implications. It essentially means that you can go out and buy the most expensive, most powerful, heavy-duty fire pump on planet Earth, but it is completely useless and will likely just destroy itself if the suction piping leading up to it is flawed. Simply put, a pump can only push what it can smoothly pull. So I want to leave you with a final thought about the systems protecting the buildings you work in, or maybe even the ones you live in. We've seen how microscopic bubbles born from just a simple pressure drop possess the violent power to shred solid steel and bring a massive emergency system entirely to its knees. Honestly, it makes you look at plumbing in a whole new way, doesn't it? So ask yourself, is your fire pump breathing freely with a smooth, positive water supply? Or is an invisible saboteur quietly hiding behind a clogged strainer or an undersized pipe, just waiting for the next emergency to strike?